Hey everybody, how are you guys doing today? Today we have a chat with an entrepreneur, and I have a special guest with me today. Her name is Annabelle, and you are going to learn about her journey and how she got started. She's right now a business and leadership coach, and she has been a serial entrepreneur, so she has a bunch of experience under her belt. She also has an MBA, so she uses her experience as well as the knowledge that she had gained from her education and puts it into service for her clients. So I'm excited to get to know her better through this interview, get to know her journey, and I'm certain that as you see her journey, you are going to get inspiration, you're going to get some more, and also maybe some nuggets as to how you can develop your business, how you can take those first steps in converting your idea or having that inkling of I want a business to actual business. So let's get started. Welcome, Annabelle. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to share what I know with all of you. And who knows what you'll pick up. Hopefully, hearing my story can inspire somebody.
Yes, I am sure. Because the more I think when I was just starting my business, the more I heard everybody's stories, more I understood that you have your own way of creating a business. And then some points made sense, some points weren't right for me. And then that itself was inspiration for me to understand that I can create this the way I want it. So understanding all these stories is really helpful. So Annabelle, tell us a little bit more about what you do and how do you work? Do you work one-on-one? Do you have a membership site? How do you work?
Yeah, so I am a business strategy and leadership coach, and I am very dedicated to working one-on-one with people because I think that the industry is actually shifting to more masterminds, more membership sites, and people. There is a point where people do need that one-on-one attention still.
Yes.
So that's what I create very specific strategy for people in their business as they are accelerating into growth and as they're stepping into their roles as leaders and really being experts in their industry. So that's what I do.
That's cool. So do you work with people who maybe already have a little bit of established business and then you take them to the next level?
Yeah. That's my main clientele is people who are trying to take a leap. They want to get to either the next profit margin mark, or they want to grow their business to a new industry, or maybe they are brick and mortar or one-on-one and they want to go online. So I work with them. I also work with people who are just starting out their businesses. And, that's normally just a 5-session type thing where I just help them clarify their idea and really bring that into a place where they can actually start making money from it and have enough clarity that they can create a product.
That's pretty cool because it's so important. When you first get started, you may have an idea, but you don't know how to convert that into something that people will buy.
Yes.
So product marketing, it's really useful. So I'm glad you're doing it. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, how did you get started with it?
Yeah. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I heard Marie Forleo in B School. And she was talking about, well, that's how we met. And she was talking about, yes. And she was talking about the life coaching industry. And I thought, I want to help people transform their lives. And I want to help them do something amazing. I wasn't completely clear then that it was going to be business coaching. I was in business school. But I kind of dabbled in life coaching for a while. And then as I got my business degree and my business master's, I started integrating more business skills with those people, because a lot of people in the life coaching field, they really want more freedom and flexibility in their lives. And how do they do that? It's really through business. Yeah. So it's definitely been a journey where, the type of work that I did, it still is mindset, right? It's still like overcoming those blocks and all of that, but helping people create businesses and strategies in their businesses, it evolved over time. So I definitely started more broad and then became more narrow over time.
And I think that's a similar journey to I went through, and many people, I think that's how they start. They first have a general idea about kind of where I want to go with this, and then as you get more experience, then you niche down, right? So how did you figure out that yes, I want to do the same work, but related to business versus say related to marketing or related to finance. How did you figure out that business mindset related work versus generic life coaching work?
Yeah, I think that it's really understanding the challenge that people were coming from, right? So I started noticing a trend in the people that I was connecting with and the people that I was very passionate about helping find outcomes. So I realized, I work a lot with mompreneurs now, but before I was working more with people who wanted to travel the world or people who wanted to be a healer or something like that. And all of them wanted more freedom and flexibility in their life. And I thought, you're probably not going to get that in a corporate job. So let me help you with the other skills that I have. So I created an intersection, right, between what I know or what I was learning in business school and what people were really needing and the challenges that they were facing. And those things aligned, but not fully intentionally, but it happened through really talking to more people, doing the work, and also like being really clear about what I was passionate about. Because the things that lit me up and the things that really made me excited and the way that I could help people ended up being business. So that's kind of how I narrowed my niches. I followed like my heart and my passion and all of that, but I also followed my mind and what I actually had a skill set to do.
Yeah. And that's so, we have a whole 1 hour lesson in the Weekend Academy on how do you narrow down and figure out what it is that you're born to do. And have you heard about the Japanese principle of Ikigai?
No, I haven't.
Ikigai, so it's a very interesting principle. It's spelled as Ikigai. And what I realized I came across this principle maybe like 2 years ago, maybe 1 year ago. I don't remember exactly. But when I saw this, I was like, this is exactly what I was doing. And I know how now the framework behind it is there are 4 circles. What it is that you love doing, what it is that you're good at doing, what can people pay you for, and what is it that world needs. An intersection of all these 4 is your ikigai. And the word ikigai in Japanese translates into reason for being. So in the Weekend Academy, I devoted a whole topic on this one, and we talked about the same thing. Is most people that I have seen, they find that ikigai by following their path of what they love doing. And you just emphasize that point that that's how you went there. And then you start looking at, am I good at this? What else do I do well? And then you start merging the fields, to then get to that point of, this is my niche. This is what I love teaching people. I'm great at it. I bring the results, and I'm going to now teach that. And then slowly, what the world needs, like you said, now more mompreneurs are coming to you. So the world needs that. There may be coaches who are teaching somebody else who don't have children, but there are coaches who are now understand maybe the pains of being a mother and what are the special challenges that come with it. And so you are perfectly positioned to help those people right there. So I want our members to really see this and get this in their head that this is how it works. It's part of it is experimentation. And that brings me to this like thought that when you had this idea that I want to do something and you were still thinking about life coaching, what was the first action that you took to move you in that direction?
Yeah. I think I took a lot of misactions.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. Everybody does, So I think that I went through like kind of an emulation phase, right? Where, I was exploring and I wanted my website to look like, the people who inspired me. So I spent a bunch of time on my website. I spent a bunch of time, taking courses on how to build an online website. And I spent all of this time basically trying to figure out how to make myself show up without ever actually having a client. And I think that was, that was a misstep. But when I actually started doing the work was when I actually started talking to people. And it wasn't necessarily all paid in the beginning. I definitely helped a lot of people for free, just to figure out what I like, what they needed. So I talked to a ton of people. And that's when I would say it was the first pivotal point when I actually started. The rest was just really doing what I needed to prepare myself to get to the point where I could start. So, if you are, creating a website or something like that, and that's what you need to feel good, like if you need to have your website up, okay, but actually that's not doing the work. And I think that that's what people really need to know
Yeah.
is like the difference between like when you're actually in the work and when you're just, stepping up to the moment that you're going to start the work.
Right. And it's such a good distinction because both of the stages are important.
Yeah.
Initially, you just don't know. So you have to prepare yourself. So you cannot look at all the effort that you put into it as a failure, right? Even if it may not pay off. Or you cannot say that, oh, I'm still working with clients for free. And that's not something to be ashamed of. That's not something to feel bad about. I think those are the steps that prepare you for ultimately the work that you then start getting paid for. People come to you for that. But one point you really brought up that I love about that, which I didn't, fortunately or unfortunately, I didn't have that experience, was because, and the point is that until you start working with clients, you don't really know what your idea is and how you deliver it, what makes you different. You don't know all of that. So my own journey, I started writing as a blog. And it was just a hobby blog. I was working somewhere else. And I then got my first client through the blog. And I hadn't even said I sell anything, but she just said that I like what you write, so can you teach me about this part? And that was the first time, and I was like, oh my gosh, somebody is paying me for that. But I was like, that's a fluke. This happens first time. Second time it happened, I was like, okay, there's something serious here. So, but I thought they were coming to me for what I was writing. And what I was writing was like inspirational life coaching type of stuff, but they were coming to me for career stuff. And that maybe because they were merging my career success with what I write, and they wanted like mindset type of training, but in career related fields. So, but until I started talking to those clients, I did not have that idea at all. I never thought I would do what I do today. I didn't know about that. So until you start working with the clients, absolutely, that's really the first step. And when you started working with the clients, were there any fears that came up for you, or were there any like for me, my biggest thing was, why should they pay me for this? Like I'm just naturally already teaching this for free. Why should they pay me for this? That was my big fear. What about you?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think that part of it was, at the time I was pretty young, so it was inexperience. I was like, should I get credentials? Should I, wait till I get my master's degree? Should I wait till I get even my degree?
Yeah.
What should I wait for? When is it valuable enough? And I think that was more of, at the time in my life, there was like a complex mix of self-confidence that I needed to build, self-understanding, self-awareness, understanding of what people needed. And, I think that the crust of it was really just, am I going to step up into this and know that I'm valuable just as I am? And it took a lot. It took a lot to figure that out. And I think that that's like one of the challenges that people have around pricing, right?
Yeah.
Is, when you're first going out there, when you go from offering something for free, your value is basically like, oh, I'm doing it for exposure, or I'm doing it for experience, and to kind of like build yourself up and to build up those pillars of self-confidence.
Yeah.
And those type of things. And self-awareness, and really understand the customer. But then there has to be a point where you actually start selling, and you have to put a price point on it, right?
Yes.
So I think for me that like I had to work through a lot of that stuff, as well as money mindset, in order to find the point where I'm like, okay, I can put a dollar amount on this and know that it has value.
Yeah.
And and that's probably a super honest answer to your question, but I think that people need to know that we go through so much.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop. Like, as you go to the next phase in your business, we all face those same things, or in different variables.
Yes.
As we, approach growth and whatnot in our business. So those feelings are okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. It never stops. As you get to one level, you recognize another challenge that you have, and then you work on that. And that's why I think that business is really the fastest tool for personal development.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Because you have to be successful. It have to be, meaning you feel certain responsibility to your business. And when you realize that I am stopping my business, it's not a strategy, it's not something else. I am stopping it, then you take responsibility of growing yourself. And money mindset is one of the big deals. I'm currently working on that. I realized, and pricing wasn't my issue because my background is in marketing, so I know pricing strategy. I priced it right. but I have money mindset that is blocks on my money mindset that is reflecting in different ways. And I realized, oh my gosh, I didn't even think I had money mindset issues, but now I do have them. So now I'm working on that. So that's my current challenge is money mindset. That's what I'm working on. And I in fact hired a coach for that, just for that, because that was the reflection of other problems that I was thinking like, oh, I'm holding myself back in these ways. And money mindset is just a reflection of one of them. So that's what I'm working on. But I'm glad you shared it, because I think when you see an entrepreneur who is successful, who is doing their thing, you don't realize how much has gone into that journey before. And not all of it is rosy.
Yes. Truth. Yes.
So to hear that from somebody who has gone through it, come out on the other side, it's really inspiring to see that, okay, I'm not alone in facing these little bit of issues right here and there. Because when you are in that moment, you feel like it's a big deal. It feels like a big deal. And when you get out of it, you're like, oh, this was simple. Now I'm ready for a bigger challenge. So
yeah,
it's really good. And that's why I love entrepreneurship so much, is because of this journey and the growth of it. That's it. So what you started doing that, then you realized that, okay, my thing is business related coaching, leadership related coaching. How did you grow from, say, getting a first client to maybe 5 clients, 10 clients?
Yeah. So, like I said, in this process, I was talking to a lot of people. I was getting in front of a lot of people, and I kind of understood what they needed. So I started teaching. I started teaching business principles. I have a in-person mompreneur circle that I teach. And I was basically getting myself in front of as many people as possible, networking. Before I had kids, I did a lot more networking, even, since Facebook groups are big now, I would talk to people on Facebook groups and like really try to actually just add a lot of value. And I also give a lot away for free still. It's definitely part of my strategy. It's very intentional, because I want people to be able to learn the skills to a point for themselves.
Yes.
And when they get to that point, then they're like, okay, now I'm ready to grow. And this person has helped me to grow, and they remember me. There's also a lot of word of mouth in the industry that I'm in. So I had a lot of people refer me, and that's been great for getting clients.
Yes.
But those initial clients that I got, it was really about adding value to them in some way. And then something clicked with them, and they're like, okay, maybe I'm curious about this person, or maybe this person can help me a little bit more. And then, that's how they came to me. So getting myself out there.
And so when was this? What time frame are we talking about here?
Yeah. So in the early years, I only took on a few clients a year, like 2 or 3 or 4. Recently, I've been ramping up a lot more. Like since I've earned my MBA, I've been taking on more clients. So really, the biggest part of like when I've been launching my business has just been in the last year, or the last 2 years. Sorry, since my son was born. So in those last 2 years, I've been really putting myself out there. But before that was really like 3 years of exploration and like kind of figuring out how I could help people.
Right.
Yeah.
So then when you decided that, okay, now I have some clarity in myself, so that was about 2 years, maybe 2015, let's just say.
Yeah.
Right? So in that time, how did you choose that? Which way do I want to put myself out there? Was it online or offline? How did you decide that?
Yeah. So I was very clear that I want location freedom. I also want time freedom, because having a child, you need to be able to kind of work on their terms a little bit. So I had those constraints, and that taught me that I do not want to open a local cafe. I do not want to have a storefront. I do not want to have an office that people come to. So that drove me into the online model, because I knew exactly what I didn't want. And then there's luckily the freedom of the online model. So that's why I was like, okay, it's perfect for me to be online, but I do still do some things in person, as far as like groups and that type of thing. But I wanted most of my business to be online, because I want that freedom and flexibility. And, I knew what I wanted.
So by online, you mean, do you do like Skype with people, like video chats?
Yeah, Skype, conference calls. I'm also available by text and email to my clients. So between all of that, and then sharing forms through Google Docs and that type of thing, like most of what we do is online. And then, every once in a while I'll meet with someone in person, and that's always fun. It's always very, very fun to be with somebody in person.
Yes.
But when I think about that freedom and flexibility, I really want to be able to come down and serve my clients and then go back up and get back to my kid as soon as possible. So
Right.
I love this model. I know it's not for everybody or every business, but for mine, it works really well.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Everybody figures out their own way that works with them. So I personally, when I first started, I was doing Skype chats, the video chats like you were talking about. And I soon realized that I draw my energy from groups, because at the same time I used to give speeches too. So then I started thinking about how can I create group coaching. So I started online course. And through that, I realized, oh, I want to continue this journey with them. And that's how I have now come to membership site, which is now I'm completely membership site. I give only speeches, but I also take some clients, like very selective, and they only, I don't advertise it anywhere, but those clients usually, for me, it's for me to basically get further clarity too. So it helps me get further clarity by teaching them in the very deeply. Because with one-on-one, that's the benefit of it. I think you can go very deep with one client and have a bigger transformation. Versus membership sites, you have a longer touch, but it can be at times a little bit. So that model for the types of skills I teach, that works there, but one-on-one is more into like when I want to go deep with a client. So it's very interesting that everybody chooses their own method and they figure out, but key factor there is to know what it is that you want and what it is that you don't want.
Yeah.
Because when you get clear on that, and because initially that clarity doesn't exist, like I had no idea that I didn't want as many one-on-one clients until I actually did that. So doing it, taking action is really important in this whole journey. And that's like, we are seeing this with every entrepreneur that I'm talking to, that actions gives you clarity. So it's crucial for that. So you decided that, okay, I want to do this, some in person, but mostly in like online, time and location freedom. For your marketing or advertising there, you said you would do it through networking. How did you do that networking? Did you do it online, or did you do it initially? Did you just do like a meetup groups, or you started talking to moms in a park? What did you do?
Yeah. Oh, all of it. I I talk about business like basically with all the moms that I meet. I do have my meetup group. I do, show up and hold mom circles. I do talk to people in Facebook groups. I do all of it. I think that also I do like what I call is like the small business PR, is where I really like try to connect with other business owners and add value to, like kind of like what we're doing right now, add value to their audience in some way. And that, it does bring me business as well, so I think that like taking all of those steps and just being, stepping up and really like doing the work and sharing, the voice that I have for the things that I do, and adding value in like all these different places, that has helped me. My strategy is mostly to, really get deep with people, like normally like through like the groups and all of that, that brings me a lot more clients than, commenting on Facebook posts. So most of my time as far as like marketing and PR, like you're saying, is really like getting up in front of people, speaking, like you said, is huge. Leading a group, being part of a group and being part of a community, somehow in a deeper way, that always leads to more business than just, commenting on 100 posts a day or something in Facebook. So I think that there's a way to like really be strategic about it. But you have to get out there. One way or the other, whatever is the best way for you. You got to get out there.
Exactly. And that is also another block that I see in a lot of budding entrepreneurs is they feel not comfortable talking about what they do.
Yeah.
So how did you ever do that, or you just?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Especially like when you're not really fully clear on what it is that you do, but
Yes.
you're like trying to get clients. Like I totally remember that feeling. Like I was definitely butterflies all in my stomach or shaking inside, like, oh, what do you do? And it's like, oh, I'm just going to tell you something. Like that's like how I got to that finally to that point is I'm just going to tell you something. And then tomorrow I might change my mind.
Yes.
I'm just going to say something, because there was definitely times where I would freeze and be like, oh, I'm a mom, or like I remember at one point I would default, because I was also doing project management at the time. So I would like default to, oh, I do project management, or the thing that I'm more confident in what I'm doing versus like what I was developing, because I was more confident about it, but that didn't get my business anywhere. So eventually I got to that point where it's like, okay, I'm just going to spit out something that's like related, and eventually it's going to refine. Right. And I would practice it, of course. Like I would try to like come up with something that made sense, but I knew very consciously that like, I do not know what I'm doing right now, but I'm going to tell them what I know so far.
Exactly.
Know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like I'm still in that phase where I change it like every 2 days when I see somebody different, because it does keep getting refined and refined, because as you see people's response, how they respond to it, as you realize, oh, you know what, this doesn't feel right to me when I say it. So it just keeps honing, and that's part of growth. That's part of business, that it just keeps getting better. And even big companies, they change the titles of their employees. They change, I mean, the job description, when that changes, the title changes. So as you get more clarity, there is no harm in saying, I do this, but in a different way. Or you change what you do too. So tell me more about your project management company too, because you did say you're a serial entrepreneur. I'm curious about that experience as well.
Yeah. So, I'm a serial entrepreneur, meaning that I've had several small businesses, but the one that kind of like stuck with me for a long time is the project management company. And I would help people in digital marketing and basically, help build websites or help build curriculum or social media campaigns. Basically, whatever people didn't want to do in their business, that's what project managers do. They manage contractors to do it, right? So that company always had business. But what I noticed was that for myself, I was being like a shadow success where, I was helping very big leaders. I was helping celebrities. I was helping big, small, medium companies, corporations build up their businesses and get to a lot of success. There'd be a successful launch. They'd sell at their events and all of that. And I would always be very happy and satisfied by it. We did good work, there's always that. But then I also felt like I needed to step up and be in that role. And I always knew that about myself. So there was that level of dissatisfaction. So I decided to take myself a little bit more out of that so that I could step up and lead and lead others and lead a movement and really be mission oriented and have a mission that's really coming from me and my passions and what I see for the world versus progressing someone else's mission. So I think that's kind of what's important is, when you have businesses, it's very easy to be successful in these niches or in these areas that like, it's very easy, right? Social media, marketing, health, the medical industry, people are making a lot of money in tech. Tech is still making a lot of money. It's very easy to make a lot of money, but are you fully satisfied inside? And that's kind of like what my practice is about is like, okay, there's this point where, as we get older maybe, or as I'm building a family, you really want that full satisfaction. It's to be an example. It's to leave a legacy. It's about really stepping up into your role. And for me, having a child was that point where I was able to pivot and be like, okay, enough is enough. It's time for you to step up. And I needed to have a child for that to happen. Some people need to have like, so much frustration in their cubicle that's the point that it happens. Some people have, a life altering experience. Like all of us come to a point as entrepreneurs where we decide that, okay, one path isn't working. I'm going to do something else and I'm going to step up into my role. And I had that point and, it's amazing. It was life-changing for me and allowed me to really like become who I am today by, developing the skills and pushing myself to actually put my face out there. And I think that is a huge block for people where they're like, oh, I want to run a business, but I don't want to be seen. But I want to make an impact. And that like, that constant conflict inside Like it really ate away on my full satisfaction inside. So that's kind of like what I wanted to speak to as far as like being a serial entrepreneur and trying all these different things. Like in what places perhaps was I hiding, you know? And now I feel like, okay, I'm not hiding anymore. And so much more success has come from that. And so much more passion has come from that. And so much more, you know, this motivation has come from that. You know, and yeah, that's kind of like why I think everybody should really be in that place of like, okay, am I, you know, the business that I'm doing, is it fully satisfying me? You know, even though if it's just making money, because I think that as entrepreneurs, we should really try to be on some type of mission.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I see that many people who want to do something like that, it's like want to be in entrepreneurship, want to get better, they usually have a mission. And they may not be clear on what that mission is, but they usually are driven by something bigger than just money. So the mission is there, maybe at times it's hidden, maybe it's not that clear, but they have that within them. And I think our members in Weekend Academy are like that. My first thing I say ever is I teach you how to make money, but that's not the only goal. The goal is much deeper than that. Money is just a tool. So even when I talk about negotiation, it is much deeper than that. It talks about confidence a whole lot more than just the skill of negotiation. So I'm sure that Weekend Academy members here, they are going to resonate with everything that you said here, because it's them. They like you're talking directly to them when they're talking about, I want to do something with my life. So is that. So what I went through that block, and I think maybe I still might be in there, where I feel like I want to hide. And anybody who knows me wouldn't think that I go through that, but I really did have a challenge on getting on videos. I used to use it in my courses, but to do it for YouTube, do it for marketing, live streams, any of that was my challenge. And later on, I figured out finally that I'm hiding from something. What was it for you? Like, how did it manifest where you realized, oh, this is what is happening to me? Like, because of this, because I want to hide, I'm not doing this, or this. What was the examples, how it manifests?
Yeah. You know, I think like the first way that it came up for me is that I didn't want to be seen as a fraud, you know, because I was still very much still figuring things out. You know, as entrepreneurs, we're always figuring things out. So, like I guess but at the time I was very scared of the fact that I was still figuring stuff out, and I wanted it to be perfect and packaged. And, you know, I didn't want people to think, oh, you know, like this person's a fraud, this person doesn't know what they're doing and all of that. But that's how it first came out. But when I did the work, I figured out that was like a deep self-confidence thing where I didn't know if I was capable. And I wasn't comfortable in that uncertainty because I wanted to be sure, like, I'm going to be a success in this, you know? But to really take risks and grow as an entrepreneur, you have to be okay in some sense of uncertainty, because there's no way for us to fully know if things are going to be successful. And so I had to come into that place where it was like, okay, I need to be okay that this is not going to work. I need to be okay that people might reject what I'm doing. I need to be okay that, you know, I might fail at something and that might be really public. I need to be okay with that because of the work that I'm doing and the way that I'm doing it. And so when I started to become more okay with that, actually the self-confidence part started raising, because I'm like, oh, you know, I am actually succeeding at this, and I'm actually having more work, and it's not in the context of what everybody else is wanting or needing or getting affirmations from other people, right? It's actually from, okay, I'm doing this, like as an entrepreneur, I'm doing it to further my mission. I'm doing it for the betterment of the world. And that movement was really internal and for myself, and all of that really strengthened me as a human being and in my sense of self, and took me out of the clutter and the way of thinking of, you know, what does everybody else think of me, right? Instead of, okay, I know what I know of myself, and I know how I need to express myself and how I need to show up in the world. And I'm going to do that every day because I'm on a mission. And I think that was a very long and painful journey. There was tears, there was fears, there was everything, you know. There was definitely places of being very stuck. and I do still come up against, at each level of growth in my business, and all of my clients go through it too,
Yes.
in their own way. So it's very normal of like when we're up leveling, and when we're taking those first shifts to have to go through all of those feelings,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's, I think, I don't know an entrepreneur who hasn't been through that fear where I have to be perfect. And then you realize, well, nobody's perfect, so I don't have to be perfect either. So
Yeah.
it's okay. And it's so funny. You are mentioning this at a perfect time. Just yesterday, I released a video about how we need to all fight perfection.
Yeah.
And we are all perfectionists in the Weekend Academy. I'm a recovering one. So many of them there. And one of the members, she emailed and she said, you know what, I was stuck in perfection. And all I did is take one action and it opened up new doors. And we were like, that's exactly what we were for. So I recorded a full video on just that topic, is we need to fight it. And we all have a tendency to do it, especially the people who are driven by something bigger. They usually tend to be perfectionists because they want everything to be best they can. But then you realize that I don't care. The perfection is just a way of hiding behind.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so
Mm-hmm.
glad you brought it up. And the other one that you said is what others think of me. That is one of the biggest blocks I have seen in entrepreneurship, including in myself, is, oh, what would they say? She used to do this and now she's doing a completely different thing, or is she changing every year? But none of that matters, because the people who want to learn from you, they value you for who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So they are going to come to you anyway at that stage. And those who don't, that's fine. They are not right for you at this point. But to understand that this is not personal. This is not personal. It's just about what is the right fit, right match at this time. And then for one-on-one clients, I have seen people that whenever somebody says, oh, I don't want to work with you, that can hurt. And obviously it is going to hurt. It's natural. But then again, it's not personal, and we cannot take it personal. So that's one of the biggest lessons I have learned through my own journey. And then now you too bring up the same thing. So I'm glad you did. Okay, so there's so much out here. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to add?
I think that it's very interesting to kind of hear someone's journey, but also like to understand where they are now, and like where, like if somebody wants to just start their business right now or whatnot, like where they are today, right? So right now, I'm a mompreneur, and I very intentionally keep my capacity low so that I can spend most of the days with my son. Yes. And I'm kind of on a movement for moms being able to spend more time with their children, because I feel like it's healthy. I feel like it's the best thing for the kid. And everybody has their own belief on it. But I know that there are people out there that really, they want to spend more time with their families, or they really want to like give themselves freedom in a certain way. And I want people to know that that is possible, and you can design your own business and your own life. And that's the beauty about being an entrepreneur in whatever industry that you're in, really thinking about the design that you want. Mm-hmm. And building your business strategically to fit that design. And it's okay if that changes over time, as things shift, like maybe we need to care for our parents or something like that, and our capacity changes. And in that, it's okay to also be small. Like we don't all need to be grand. We don't all need to be these huge corporations to make an impact, to make the money that we need to care for ourselves in order to retire and all of that. And it is a journey, like kind of like we talked about today. There is a path to it. There's a path to figuring yourself out. But, right now I feel like I'm definitely in a spot where I have clients, I have revenue, I'm making a big impact, and I'm doing it in a short amount of time. And being able to do all of that, it is possible. And I want people to know that, but it takes intention, it takes design, it takes knowing what you want, and it takes going through when you're uncomfortable and figuring out the place that's best for you, where you're going to be most comfortable and most satisfied. But if you don't tackle those uncomfortable places and push yourself, then maybe you'll never get there. So yeah, I guess that's just a piece of encouragement for anybody who might be just starting out or in their journey along, that, know that you're doing the best thing for yourself, the best thing for the world, and, you know, the best thing for your clients, and you will feel so great, you know? And that's like really the ultimate thing. It's not, like you're saying, it's not about money. It's about, are you a satisfied human being, and are you making a difference in the world? And if you are, you're going to feel so great. You're going to die happy, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
That's the point.
yeah. And business is the way to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly. I'm so thankful, Annabelle, that you brought this point up, because in the Weekend Academy, I always leave people with an action, and you just gave me an idea of an action, and and I'm sure you would love for them to do this too. So from both of us, guys, here's your action. And first of all, listening to this chat and understanding your own journey, getting some nuggets out of it, that's obviously you're already doing it. But to take it even deeper, I want you to start thinking what makes you uncomfortable about your next steps in entrepreneurship. Or if you are not thinking about entrepreneurship moving forward in your career, what is it that makes you uncomfortable? Is it I cannot ask for a raise, or I just don't feel comfortable talking to people about selling my product, or I feel uncomfortable not knowing what my product is? Whatever it is for you, make a note of it, and then start thinking what are different ways where you can still have this discomfort but do what you need to do to move forward, right? You don't have to overcome it right now. You don't have to immediately learn strategies to do anything different, but just that awareness of this is what is making me uncomfortable in my next steps is good to have. So I want you to just be aware of it and start keep that in your mind, and set an intention that I'm still going to take action despite this discomfort. Because everything that you learn from Annabelle's journey is about understanding that I feel uncomfortable, but I'm still going to do what I need to do, and through that I'm going to get clarity. So go for it and just set an intention that I want to figure out what that discomfort is for me at this time. Okay. Thank you, Annabelle, for joining us. Thank you so much from all the members of Weekend Academy. We thank you, and thanks for sharing your journey. And we look forward to maybe talking to you soon again.
I'd love it.
Bye, everybody.